Pia, I don't know if you're going to have the same feelings I had about this part in its entirety, not Bethany. We've established yesterday that Bethany is the problem.
Oh, she's the problem.
She's the issue. Because as I was listening towards like the middle to end of the episode, and Rachel got a chance to like say more things uninterrupted about how she does have regrets for how she acted and stuff like that. I'm like, if Bethenny hadn't come in with such an agenda to get Rachel to basically go through all of her pain points, like all of Bethenny's like, and what about this? And what about this?
Yeah.
As opposed to just listening to her and letting her tell her story, then I actually, it's proof. It's what we said yesterday. She could have come out of this first interview back on the scene and won. Because like, I was like, okay, look, I don't want to keep punishing her. I know she went through a lot. I know it was a lot, like, for any human being to handle. And that Tom just doesn't have he just doesn't fucking care.
No, he doesn't care.
So it doesn't penetrate him like it gets to her.
Yeah.
But because we had the first part and the second part where she's like, I wasn't even really that good of friends with Ariana. Like, that's bullshit. Like, they weren't really my friends. And I'm like, now you've got me on the defense.
I mean, but unfortunately, like...
So now I know that's how you think.
Right. And that's the thing. It's really hard for me to let go of the first part. Like, and again, we were willing to, like, let her have growth, you know what I mean? And accept that. But unfortunately, like, I still think she has a lot of work to do on herself. And she needs to figure out or be self-aware enough that she is being manipulated by many people that are currently in her life, and it's not boding well for her. I know we're gonna get into it, but like, I know she's gonna be done with reality shows and all that stuff, and she's gonna be starting a podcast. But like, I was talking to a friend about this, and she made a good point. She said, "Why wouldn't you tell your story on your podcast and you make all the monies that you're complaining that you didn't get?" Like, Bethany's podcast just skyrocketed to number one, and it's off of your back, girl.
Why was Bethany's platform more important than your own? Everyone would have tuned in to listen to her first episode of her podcast.
Everyone. Like, but now you can still tell your story on your podcast, but you've tainted it now. It's not going to land as well as, like, it would have been the most anticipated podcast, like, premiere. Like, I mean, maybe not ever, but people really would have been anticipating this podcast.
Yeah. I don't think she's had a professional team at any point. I think she's just been listening to her parents, because as much as I know it looked bleak for her, and I'm sure she's like, I wasn't going to get a sponsorship. She even says that, like, no one was going to give me any brand deal.
Right.
I'm like, I'm telling you, you could have positioned this better. You were gone long enough that it made me, who was so angry at you, be like, all right, look, dude, if she's really getting work done, then I'm hoping something worked. I'm hoping it helped things for her.
Yeah.
And I realized that she talks about how she goes into the Meadows, which she says the Meadows a lot, like by name. Like, when I was at the Meadows, like, we get it. You were at the Meadows.
Yeah.
But it also kind of, I don't know why that sticks out to me, and maybe put a pin in that if anyone else thought that was weird. But she just kept saying
like she was supposed to, like, did almost she get a deal?
Yeah. But, and hey, I hope she did, because she needs it.
Yeah.
But she didn't play this right, where she comes back not, like, changed, really.
Right. That's the problem.
It's the same stuff she was saying before she left.
To me, I feel like she's in a worse spot, because I feel like because yes, the internet, we went off on her, and honestly, rightfully so. Because
don't say that.
Why?
Because what she's talking about, death threats.
Oh no, not death threats. No.
That's what we're focusing on, because
that's like, never okay.
She got a lot of
okay.
She got, like, scared and shit like that. So, like,
no,
that wasn't okay.
I'm talking about like people pointing out her bad behavior. Like,
okay.
I feel like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but of course, according to Bethenny, now that wasn't allowed.
I think that's unfair to be.
It is.
Yeah, because you're supposed to. Okay, like, I think that this is the issue. I think that is just does not want to accept her part in it, and like I think that she's having a really hard time with everyone being upset with what her actions, and she's confusing it with like how everyone else has responded to other people who have done similar things. But the thing is, people have responded negatively to those same people.
That's what I'm losing my mind about, is that people forget that like they were canceled. People were canceled.
Yeah, and that's I don't know why she is not. I don't know why she doesn't realize that it's over now because it's been a long time, and it would have the same would be for you. But the problem is she keeps doubling down.
Yeah,
that's the issue.
She could have so moved into this new space in a way that was like presented better, but she thought that like telling her story meant basically saying like, how come everyone else can do what they did and they don't get in trouble? I'm like, but why is no one explaining to you that that's not what's happening? Why is no one going, look, Tom literally performed while people were booing him. And he just didn't
that's a good point.
care.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
You know, and like Schwartz got all kinds of hate. Like Tom, what's their place called? Schwartz and Sandy's was vandalized. Like,
there
that's a good point. Things that happened, but they didn't go away. And the fact that she did go away, to me, I was like, okay, that really means that she's taking this seriously. Then Tom didn't. Tom was like, what am I going away for? I'm perfect. But I thought, so when she came back, it was so crazy that she only resented everyone, not realizing that she betrayed so many people and wasn't going to go, it didn't ever go like, at least it appears this way, it didn't ever go like, okay, look, I loved those people and I hurt those people. So I'm going to give them time because I hope one day they will believe that I'm sorry. Instead, she's like skipping that part.
Yeah. I think it feels a little bit, did we say this last time? She's coming off a bit entitled for me.
I didn't hear that, but I can see what you're saying.
It feels like she has to do the work to rebuild trust with the people that she hurt, and even with the fans. You know, it takes time. And I'm
open to forgiving her. You know us.
Yeah. So I think that she just needs to reflect and understand that yes, you made a mistake. Where no one is perfect, and I know Bethenny was on her like TikToks, like, oh, I guess no one has made a mistake in your 20s. She kept on like saying the 20s thing in her TikToks, like about Rachel, and like she's a young 20-something, and 20-somethings don't make mistakes. I'm like, Bethenny, what is this agenda? Sure, like we know that people make mistakes. Anybody can make a mistake at any age, but the thing is, you have to actually use actions and time to fix your mistakes and allow people to heal from the actions that you caused them.
Yeah. And the arguments that she's presenting, you know, okay, hold on, actually, let me just go into this part and then I'll get to more of my points, because I could just like riff forever. Bethenny starts, I have an update, by the way, on all of the ads in Bethenny's. Okay, so I got an insider tip that iHeart shows are required by iHeart to put that long of an ad break in.
Oh, okay, so it's not Bethenny.
Yeah. However, I'm still going to say she could have still done one episode an hour and a half.
That's true.
She didn't need to do 3 because she was like, she's like, well, I know I got to put those long ass ads in there. I'll take advantage of that.
She's kind of actually, it's so funny. She's actually kind of following the Bravo formula. Like, with the
she
reunion.
is. The fact that she's going, damn the man. I'm like, you are like the man. Like
I know.
I don't know I know I talked about this on a podcast episode, but it might have been a solo one. But this was years ago, like when she was just doing Skinny Girl, like before she really blew up. And she did one of those like women empowerment things where she was one of the speakers. And she said to all the women of color that are owning your own business, have a white man be your representative. I don't make the rules. That's just how it is. And people complained. It was a huge problem. This is who now is leading this like awareness and evolution, because I don't hear her addressing things she's done in the past and being like, this was wrong.
That's it. That's like
I don't hear her once going, I know I screamed at Kelly Ben-Simone. This person's like Humpty Dumpty. Get the fuck out of here, basically. Yeah. And that wasn't right. She's not owning that she fed this whole reality TV shit.
Yeah.
Girl.
It's just
hold on, I gotta go off. You fucking set up Luann. You set up Luann to tell her on camera that her fiance was kissing someone at the Regency instead of telling her off camera, instead of telling her friend Dorinda. You knew, who gives a shit if she has an emotional breakdown? I'm telling her on camera. So don't fucking talk about this shit, Bethany.
You're so mad and I love it.
Go off. It's like you and Luann talked about that very thing when she did Ultimate Girls Trip. She's like, oh my God, Bethany, I found out on camera that my fiance was, and it's like, oh yeah, like duh, from that perspective, it's terrible. But Bethany just had no respect for Luann.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy.
It's all about Bethenny all the time. And she's always done, I don't know, she's just really performative to me. Like, she gets on her high horse. Yeah. And she tries to be like, look at me. Like, I do all these amazing things. I like, and they are amazing things that she does. I'm not taking it. But it almost feels like sometimes she's just trying to be like, I'm better than everyone. I'm the best at everything in every category, and it's something about it comes off like ick to me. I liked Bethenny at first when we were on Housewives, and then I grew indifferent, and now I'm just plain I cannot stand her. I don't like what she's doing.
No, and then she brings up. And I'm like, did you really watch the reunion? Because you sound a little confused. She goes, I saw that there was a pill bottle thrown at the reunion, like made light of, someone like, do you want a Xanax? And I was like, hold on. That didn't happen to her. She wasn't even on stage yet. It was as she was coming out. But of course, Bethany's like, but this is what reality TV does to us. Bitch, I was popping Xanax at my restaurant jobs. Like, watch your tone, okay?
Watch your tone.
You can't just blame everything on Bravo because you're mad at it. But like, I'm definitely damn the man. And there are a few things in here that she does, that Rachel does bring up that I'm like, now you see this is something. But I don't want to hear it anymore because I'm so pissed at Bethenny. Once again, she should not be leading this charge because she's the worst example.
She's not qualified.
No. Oh, she is so underqualified to be doing this.
She's not qualified.
She's acting like a fucking expert. And I'm like, I'm losing my mind. Like, she is insufferable. Like she said to Carol, like, I'm going to put that clip in where she goes, you're insufferable. That's you, Bethany. Oh my God, I was so annoyed by her.
That's you, Bethany. Can that be the still for this?
It's you. Look in the mirror. Look in the fucking mirror. I could use all of her lines that she's used on people. Remember when she screamed at Luann in the restaurant?
I'm tired of these people interviewing Bravo people Bravo people and not watching their show.
No, to do this interview. Because I don't think she realized that Rachel wasn't on set for that because she was expecting Rachel to be like, I know, they threw a pill bottle at me, but she was like, I actually wasn't there. So Bethenny goes, and I just thought that was interesting. Wow, there's a pill bottle getting thrown. Anyway, I read somewhere, I'm like, yeah, bitch, it wasn't, you don't know what you're talking about. You should have cut that little segment because it made no goddamn sense.
Yeah, why didn't you just cut that?
Cut that out because it wasn't a point and you fucked up, okay? You should be embarrassed.
Okay. I don't know why she didn't cut that out.
I cut shit out of my stuff when I'm like, that was just an odd thing to say. But nope, everything she says is gold. Yeah. But then here's where it gets personal yet again. She's like, I read somewhere that Andy said he thought you were medicated. How does that make you feel? And she says that it violates some HIPAA laws. Rachel says that. And then she goes, and Tamika, I'm sorry, by the way, if anyone finds her voice to be entertaining or enjoyable to listen to, I am not one of them. So I'm going to say the way I feel. It's so difficult to listen to her talk.
I agree. And it has nothing to do with Scandal. Like, I've
always felt that way. It's like she's so slow in the way she gets out her points.
I think that one of my biggest reasons why I don't I feel I'm not trying to be mean, but it's because it's so shaky and it makes me nervous when she talks because I don't like know if she knows where it's gonna go, and I'm like I'm
exactly
nervous.
It.
And I'm nervous with her, and I'm like, I have anxiety now. Like
that's how it makes
you're
me
transferring
feel
your
too.
anxiety to me, and I do that though. Like I literally.
Like you just put into words how I feel, but I couldn't figure out that that's what it was. But yes, the whole time she's talking, I'm like, oh no,
I know, like
what are you gonna? Oh
like,
no!
But I'm very sensitive like that to other people's like
embarrassment,
or I can transfer, like I'm empathetic. Like is that a word for that? Like I don't know. Like
you're an empath.
I'm an empath. Like watching TV, I'll like leave the room when there's an uncomfortable scene, and because I'm like freaking out.
Yeah,
I do it all the time. Like a show, what's Shark Tank? Whenever they're like.
When they're so
like,
bad.
When they're like, going back and forth. And I'm like, I freak out. I was like, did they get the deal? I'm like yelling at Sean. I can't. They're botching it. I want this for them so bad.
I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. I can't really handle that level of like public embarrassment. I don't enjoy it. Like some people find that entertaining, but I'm like, these crash and burns just make me uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I literally feel like it's happening to me
too. Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. But that's how it's true. That's how Rachel makes me feel when she's talking. But then I also start to get like, I'm like tired of waiting. I'm like, can you get to the
because part of you is impatient too.
Yeah, because I need her to finish her sentence already. Because I'm like, what are you gonna say? Are you sure you're gonna say something you want to say?
Which happens a lot on Vanderpump. Like the cast is constantly, especially Lala, finishing her sentences because it's taking her like a long time to figure out how she wants to say it.
And then did you notice she kept stopping and starting in this too? Like she'd say a sentence, like she'd be like, the amount of times, like she's so used to doing like a take two.
Yeah.
She did that on the show too, which just, I'm again, like, I don't think she was ever meant for reality TV.
Yeah.
But I want to point out another thing Bethany has said. They did some like 100th episode special of Roni. And it was, everything was just one-on-one interviews with Andy Cohen that they spliced together, right?
Yeah.
And Andy brings up to Bethany, I think he brought up to everybody individually, but he brings up to Bethany Scary Island and like Kelly Ben Simone and whatnot. And Bethany says, look, reality TV is not for everybody. And Bethany and Kelly was not made for reality TV. That's out of your own mouth.
Because the thing is, nothing applies to Bethany.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just, she's just a walking
hypocrisy. I can't stand it. But the HIPAA law violation, it's actually not, unfortunately, a violation because he's not your doctor. And so it's not a HIPAA violation to just, unfortunately, make assumptions. I think, honestly, Andy thought he was giving her a compliment, which isn't good either. But I think he was like, I can't really explain, because it's harder to explain why you were emotionless.
Yeah, I actually thought Andy was trying to come to her defense. Like, I think that she, like, this, I feel like he was not trying to be mean when he said it. Wasn't like, oh, she's medicated. It was more of like, you know, she wasn't giving the emotions that the cast desperately wanted her to. And I think she might have just been medicated because of all of the
this
stress.
Is a lot.
And I truly don't think he meant anything negative.
And I will drag Andy Cohen all day long. I do. In fact, that's probably why I'm never going to get invited on Watch What Happens Live to be a bartender, even though somehow I really want that. But we drag him all the time.
Yeah, I also told you I really want to be a bartender with you.
Yes, it would be dreams come true, but
dreams.
But I'm sure Andy has heard me say a lot of shit about him, and he's like, not that bitch. So that's fine. That's fine. But okay, so then Bethany keeps referring to Andy as her employer.
Okay.
Andy's not a producer on VPR. He just hosts the reunions.
People are really confused by that a lot. Like, because Housewives, he's just a housewife producer.
Yeah, Housewives is his thing, which is why there's always so many new Housewives shows coming out, because that's Andy. She goes, why we are doing this right now is because I see this reunion and I'm like, wow, this one's crossed the line. So you saw the reunion without any context. And why did you see the reunion? Because it was so big. Because everyone knew about it. And you wanted a piece of the action.
You know what it was that probably broke it for her?
That
when they got invited to the White House.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. Yeah, she's so jealous. She's so pissed off. She's so used to being number one.
White House. And that Ariana who said all of that gets to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner? Absolutely not. Please.
Yeah. I can't. It's too hard to put into words how much I cannot stand her at this point. It's so hypocritical.
I just wish, like, she had watched the show.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you watched it out of context, and this is what sparked your decision to start this movement?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I might not agree with her. If she still had this opinion, I definitely wouldn't agree with her, but at least I could respect it. At least I would.
Exactly. But no, she didn't even watch it. And it sounds like she didn't even fully watch the reunion either.
No, it doesn't. Like,
I don't think you watched it, Bethany. I think you just got the gist of it somewhere and then you got mad because I wouldn't be surprised too if she noticed that like YouTube channels were getting bigger and podcasts were getting and she's like, "Oh, I'm not involved in this. I'm doing Rewives. That's about housewives." Like,
and then you know, they did say how much money they made, Katie and Ariana, off of the merch. And that was a lot of money. And she probably was like, "Excuse me? Like merch? Like what's like this?"
They fucking made their own merch.
I know.
I have understand. Merch. You're going to come for that? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, like, Bethany, you know, because she invented it, I guess. Because
she invented, this is a crisis.
There it is.
She can't handle anybody else doing anything.
She hates it. She's very competitive, and
she has to squash down anyone else that's doing anything. But then she continues to read from this Andy article, and she's like, he said in this article that he was surprised that you didn't walk off stage and get in your car and never come back. And Rachel, I feel like she's just such a sponge. She's like, which is interesting because I did leave and he told me to come back. I'm like, that is literally because Bethany just said that to you. Like, it's like, we know that's why you just said that.
Yeah.
You were at the reunion. Of course they're going to say, come back because you're there. That is not absurd. And I just posted a clip of Bethany screaming at Kelly Ben-Simone as she walked off stage. Bethany wasn't all concerned about Kelly's mental health. She's screaming that you're crazy.
Yeah, the thing is, Bethany has never cared about anybody's mental health. I feel like she's actually one to make fun of someone.
But then she wants all the sympathy and all the compassion for her own issues.
Of course.
That was the issue on Roni, that season 10.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yep.
But he said he went into the reunion worried for your mental health. So then she asked if there was a mental health advocate on set with her. And correct, we did not see one. That is for sure. And there should have been. That I will agree with. That I'm going to say there should be a mental health advocate for everyone. Like one for the whole cast on every fucking reunion.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they don't have one on set for all of them because by the way, there have been so many heavy topics discussed on all of these Bravo shows at the reunion, and that's quite literally what the reunion is for, drudging up all of these really like dramatic moments. Like think about like on Beverly Hills with Kyle and
Kathy.
Not even Kyle and Kathy. I was thinking Kyle and Kim.
Kim's
all of Kim's alcoholism and drug use being talked about. That's super serious.
Yes.
What's her name? That's now on OC. And her husband. No. She was on Beverly Hills.
And Taylor.
Taylor and her husband.
They mishandled that so bad.
We had a lot. Like, I'm surprised from like early. There should always have been a mental health person on set. Like, they cover really traumatic experiences in these people's lives.
Yeah, no, there should, in my opinion, always be a psychologist on set for all reality television filming and reunions. Like, that should be normalized because
they would never do it for the filming because they probably think that they would interfere. I feel like wouldn't.
I don't care how they do it, but they should. I mean, Love Island has it.
Oh, they do? Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because they had a couple people unalive themselves that were connected to Love Island. I mean, granted, there's a lot of people that do each season, so there's like a lot of people, so it's a big pool of people, but like the host did.
I just never watched Love Island.
I hadn't either until this season, so I know everyone
keeps talking about how great
I tried
it is.
to get into USA, but Kendrick's going to kill me, but I'm going to speak my truth. I did my best. I watched the Cost Some More episodes. I just can't stand the cast.
Okay.
But the UK one's so fun. The UK one's way more fun to watch it with a British accent. And they say cuter things. Like they have cuter language, you know, for stuff. And I don't know. But anyway, there should be someone, especially if it's going to be a heavy scene, especially if they know they're going to get the entire cast together. I think that should be a normalized thing. They don't necessarily have to step in, but they could be there available if someone wanted to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think that needs to be normalized. Okay, fine. You get that, Rachel. You see how I could have heard you if you had done this better? Like, you are making points. Like, there are points that can be made here. And I know people keep saying that obviously this is just a setup for her lawsuit. And I'm like, that's kind of shitty. Like, don't use her to set up something you're going to sue them over later. She's not a file of evidence. She came to tell her story. I thought that's what you wanted her to do.
And I don't even know if you could use this. I don't know.
It's also just her word against theirs. But I don't think it's incorrect when they get death threats and shit like that. Because Rachel was getting a lot. I know. And they didn't do anything. And so I agree that it was ridiculous that once Bethany's letter goes out, they're like, oh, did you want security at the house? Granted, the other part that's really hard for me here is that Rachel's interpretation of things isn't necessarily something we can always rely on.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when she talks about how she did the TMZ interview, and she's like, and I first she says I asked basic questions, but she meant to say she answered basic questions.
Yeah.
And that's not true. She answered quite specific questions that we were like, say what?
I know. It was like you said so much.
We almost felt guilty listening to it because we're like, the reunion is filming tomorrow. Like, what are you doing? Like, no. So she thinks that was them punishing her by not giving her that mental health advocate. I think that if that is the case, if they really did take away her mental health advocate as retaliation, then yeah, we got a big problem there. I just don't know if I can believe that.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, did they say I was going to provide this and then it didn't happen? Like I need confirmation on that because did she assume that they would have
she says that they told her there would be one.
Okay.
If that is the case, then yeah, let's get into it. I am not going to be totally biased like Bethany in my recap of this interview. I will be honest and say there are changes that need to be made. But again, Bethany, you're clouding all of the noise.
That's the biggest issue. I think everyone is all like, we absolutely get behind like wanting to go after Bravo or not like go after, but like making sure that they're compensating everyone fairly and, you know, all the things that a union would do. Mm-hmm. And but it's just the way in which Bethenny is choosing to do this is feeling like it's actually undermining the cause. And
exactly.
And
she completely
we need someone else to be the
Rachel.
Face. Yeah, these are not this is not using Rachel is not the best catalyst for this. Like it's I don't think so. This is not
this is not it. It is so upsetting that Rachel didn't just wait till she had her own podcast ready to go and did this as like a premiere episode.
I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from all three unnecessary parts
herself.
Yeah. From all three unnecessary parts of this Bethenny podcast is I'm just so mad to find out that Rachel is starting her own podcast and didn't think about how this could be her first episode of her podcast.
We get to the end of the third part and she's like, and Bethany's like, have we said everything you wanted to say? And she's like, well, you know, I'll maybe just like save it. And then Bethany's like, save it for your podcast. I go, so then why did you do this one? Like you should have just done.
I almost feel like halfway through, she's like, damn, I think I should have did this on my podcast. And she's like, I feel like, I don't feel like, okay, I don't feel bad for her, but like, it's just like, I do want to like, in a weird way, just be like, can I just like give you a couple of ideas? Like, I feel like they're all collectively
no,
like.
I'm telling you, I wanted to be like, I'm like, I could have coached this chick into making a comeback. Like, I am telling you, like, it was not that hard. There are ways for us to tweak this. Did I not say she should align with mental health stuff? And that's what she wants to focus on, like self-help. I'm like, easy. You had it right there
Like,
for you.
I do also want to know what her podcast is going to be about. Like,
because then when she goes, other people have been the other woman. I'm like, is it going to just? What if she calls it the other woman?
Oh, that'd be kind of good.
Oh
my God,
so.
that would be good.
You're welcome, Rachel. You're welcome.
The other woman.
The other woman.
And then you just each week have like
different stories,
different mistresses come through.
Well,
and drop.
Yeah. Is that like a derogatory term saying mistress?
I mean, what else? The other woman? I don't like.
Other
what else
woman.
Do you call
the other? That's why they're going to call it the other woman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like it's derogatory if you're doing something bad to someone.
See, but people won't agree with that. I'll tell you that much.
Like, okay.
But I also hold on. We're going to get to the mistress part too, because Bethany, if you had done your research and watched the show, you would know that other people have been called mistresses on the show and have had to they still are called mistresses. But then Rachel talks about the other HIPAA violation thing, and I was like, oh no, what else did Andy say? And she tells the story about how she was at the Met. Oh God, she told the most boring story. I wrote it down. It's like this. It got out that I was at the Meadows. Sorry. One of my peers recognized me when I came into the Meadows, was like, oh my gosh, Raquel, what are you doing here? This was this person's last week, and this was my first week, and then it gets out that I was getting treatment. Oh my God, girl, you need to get through a sentence quicker, because I'm telling you right now. But then I go, hold on, that's not Bravo's fault. You're mad that you're a celebrity. And like Scott Disick had the same thing happen to him, and they like freaked out over like this happens to celebrities all the time.
But they didn't blame E.
Yeah, like you
happened.
can't. That's because you've created you wanted to be in front of the camera. You wanted to be the star of the show. So like there's going to be people in there. Like, you know what I mean? You're now a celebrity to some extent.
That is the pit of being recognizable public figure.
You can't change an entire system. You can put stuff in place to take better care of you. But people are still going to want to do reality TV. Like the Pratts just went on TikTok and were like, "We're available for work." Like, we're not joining the strike.
I know. Okay,
hire us. Sorry, I had to stop and restart because Pio's video was a little choppy. And while she logged out and logged back in, I put glasses on. And I should have messed with you. I should have been like, "I've been wearing them this whole time."
I would have believed you too.
I know. I'm like, you just weren't paying attention.
I was like, oh, okay. I would have thought about it all day. Like, I would have like also like been anticipating you post it too, because I was like, I gotta look. I just gotta check. No way.
No way. It was not. No, I've been fighting a migraine all day.
Oh no. Oh, God.
I know, they're the worst. I've got like that light in like the center of my eye that I'm like, it's coming. It wants to get me, but I won't let it. I won't let it.
Don't let it.
Okay. So we were talking about the Pratts, and you said, don't even get me started on the Pratts, and I cut you off. Because go ahead.
I just love them. Like,
I love them too. I can't believe I'm saying that.
I know. I hated them when I was watching The Hills. And I don't know, like, Spencer, like, kind of makes me smile whenever I see any of his videos.
You know why? Because he's just still Spencer. Like, he hasn't stopped being that guy. So it's like, I guess it's just him now, guys.
Yeah. Like, him and his crystal business. Like, like, I'm sorry. Like, he's hilarious. He's like, oh, people think I'm striking. I'm just unemployed. I'm available and
I've seen him like in Whole Foods, like here and there throughout town, and he's always getting like a smoothie and talking it up with the guy making the smoothie. Like, they know him everywhere. Like, he's clearly like, he's not a bad guy. He's just said some extremely problematic things, though, throughout the years.
Yes, and I also think that he's always wanted to be on reality shows. Like, he did that one with Brody a long time ago. Yeah, when David Foster was his stepdad.
I forgot about that.
And you know, I think that he was just like, I want to be a big reality star, and I'm gonna just be a villain. And I think he knew exactly what he like. Yes, it came at the expense of a lot of people. LC can attest. But he was just like, I'm a villain. Like, this is great. Like, someone has to be the villain, and it's gonna be me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
He was ahead of his time. I actually feel like if the show the exact same way was happening now,
everything switches.
I'm not. I feel
LC's not the good guy.
I feel like we might be like, LC,
you suck.
You suck. And why didn't you go to Para? We did say back then too.
We said that back then, yeah.
But still, I think we might have been a little. I feel like I was like, I just think, okay, we're a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
see, I told you.
We will do this again. But I wanted to address this part. Rachel, she brings up the Miraval rumor. And I jumped on that because I was fucking pissed.
Yeah.
That they wrote out a statement that said she was getting treatment. And then it was like proven by multiple sources that she was going to Miraval.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's fucked up that when her team tried to reach out to get them to correct the narrative, saying like, no, we have proof she's at the Meadows, they wouldn't. I think that's accurate because I did hear from someone who gives me a lot of good insider tea that the network or the producers or the show or whatever that means exactly was feeding the headlines for sure during Scandal because they wanted it to keep going. But that's why then you saw the huge shift in everyone's interviews and everyone's lives and everything, because then they were like, well, no, now we need to calm everyone down. Yeah. So I could imagine during the height of that, them being like, well, no, we're not going to change it because that's not going to get people going.
Yeah.
You know? So let's look into that. There we go. Yeah. Bethenny asked if anyone from Bravo ever reached out, and she says no. And she asked for her visit to be covered for her stay at the facility, and they refused to pay for it. But her theory is accurate, and Bethenny even fills in the gap there because she goes, I think that if they were to pay for it, it would admit to this. And then Bethenny says culpability. And I'm thinking, Bethenny, you would do the same shit. She's had so many people work for her that quit. She even had that reality show for a while that I think it's Barbie Bunny was outspoken, like, I signed this contract to be on Bethany's show, and it was like, you cannot do another show or do anything basically but this, and now I'm broke and I don't have any way of making money because of this contract. That was Bethany's show. So
okay,
Bethany,
I'm getting riled up again. I just like, Bethenny, you're such a hypocrite.
Yeah. And then Bethenny goes, now that your name's been mixed in with this whole reality reckoning thing, have you seen a different side of Bravo? And I was expecting Rachel to say they treated her worse, but instead that's when she's like, no, that's when they offered me security. Agreed that they should have at least offered security. If they're going to put people on a show, like it happens to everyone, by the way. It happened to all the Beverly Hills cast at various times.
I mean, I agree that they should have definitely put in some, because there are lots of overzealous people, and like, again, as much as we're like, I still think it's fine for us to, they put their lives on television for us to be able to commentate of what we see, but there obviously are clear lines that you're not supposed to cross, and like threats or physical violence of in any sort is never okay. And the thing is, they do a lot of exterior shots, so like they filmed at her apartment many times, like people could easily figure out where she lives. So I do think for all of the cast, it really should be. They really should be a little bit safer on how they like expose where they are. The Kardashians don't, like, they're smart. They do fake exteriors,
as they should.
Yeah,
as they should. I've always thought it was crazy that they show the front of all the Vanderpump people's places, because it's like we live right near them, like literally Pia lives not even a block away from Rachel's apartment. And so other people, I'm sure other people in Pia's building watch the show. I mean, she lives in a big building. Like, we could easily, like, I know where Reza lives. I know where Schwartz and Katie's house was, like, because they show us the front and then you go searching for it.
Yeah.
And you find it.
But you don't want the wrong person who gets a little too like into the chaos, do something weird.
Then Bethenny says, what happens with the public? What about the messages? I've seen merch sold with your name on it. All right, Bethenny. That's when I like had to pause and like, okay. Number one, you personally know what it's like to get messages from fans, from listeners, from watchers. Like, you can't control that. What you say and what you do is going to get a reaction when you're in the public. I have to accept it. So do you guys, right? So there's that. That has nothing to do with Bravo.
Yeah.
And the merch, Tom also was selling merch. Rachel talks about the send it to Daryl moment. And it hits me. Bethenny is more like Lala than Rachel in all of this. Bethenny would absolutely do a send it to my lawyer video.
Oh, she absolutely would. I mean, we've seen it. Like, there's so many examples of it. Oh, God.
She'd be savage. She's more like Lala than she is, honestly, like any of the other ones, to be honest, because she's so cutting.
That's why I guess I'm still harping on her being so upset with what Ariana said to Rachel in the part 3, because I quite literally think she would do the same thing.
Yes,
like given the opportunity.
There's been examples of it. Like
that. The thing is, I can accept people and their opinion on if Ariana should have done it or not, whatever, but not from someone who has been well documented doing that. You can't with
a reputation of being the most savage. People admit like, oh yeah, she's a little scary. Like that's like Lala. You and Lala would be great friends.
Yeah.
And so Rachel's like resentful that Lala made enough for a down payment on a house, but then she says that it's the house that freaking Brock wanted to buy. What did that mean?
Well, you know what it is? She bought a house next to Sheena, so I'm sure Sheena and Brock, because Sheena had that house first. So I'm sure they probably looked at a bunch of houses on that block. So maybe that was maybe a house that they initially wanted to buy, but then they didn't. I don't know.
She made it seem like that was like shitty of Lala to do.
That first of all, that's null and void, because literally Sheena couldn't wait to go on the podcast and say that
their
neighbors. They made a video about it. Everyone is not doing their research.
No, they were not. And so she's pissed because they've profited and she is ruined. And Bethenny goes, yeah, mistress at best. They've been labeled mistress. Lala and Sheena still have to deal with that. This is part of what being the public figures that they are is, unfortunately.
If anybody gets to be mad about being called a mistress, it's Sheena.
It's Sheena.
We literally had the most iconic transition. She had to sit down with the person she hurt on camera at actually early 20s. And she actually made that mistake in her early 20s.
And she's still a teenager, suffering for it.
Still, to this day, we have not let go that she slept with Brandon Glanville's husband, and we got an iconic walk into Sir. Because of it. The whole show has been on the back of Sheena having an affair with Brandy's husband. That is how Vanderpump was able to launch.
Okay? Don't take that from Sheena. Bethenny gets into the death threats and the bullying. And Rachel says, at the Meadows, they taught about shame. Carried shame, toxic shame, and healthy shame. And I was like, okay, now we understand. At least that's kind of what I thought was happening with what I said yesterday. They focused on the fact that she felt so much shame for what she had done. And because she's so literal, when they explain that some of it's toxic and unhealthy, but then there is healthy shame, I feel like she was like, okay, yeah, now I can excuse a lot of stuff, right? Because I wasn't even that close with Ariana, and Sheena I did pay rent. It's like, no. I don't think you understood the message they were trying to give you, girl.
Yeah.
Healthy shame still sounds like I really hurt my friend. We weren't even friends. And I do, when she says this line, she says, if I had taken on all the hate and vitriol that came at me, I don't know how I would have survived. That's true. Because as to have a massive amount of people come at you when you've made such a big mistake is a lot, and people were saying really awful things about her. And it's true, she needed to know that she wasn't those things. It's just strange that in this process, she had to discredit things that didn't need to be discredited. Why are you going to take away Ariana's friendship with you? Yeah. When you said out of your own mouth that you guys are really good friends. You don't need to do that.
Yeah. And you also don't have to discredit Ariana's relationship with Tom. Just you know what I mean?
Yes. And someone keeps saying something, Pia, and I keep forgetting to talk about it with you. People keep commenting, if everyone knew that the relationship with Tom and Ariana was not good, why were you keeping it a secret from Ariana?
Right.
So that doesn't track. You're still not listening to the fact that Tom lied to you about that. Yeah. Tom fed you a narrative because those two things don't equal each other.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, I don't even know where to begin with Rachel.
I know. It's hard.
All I know is she really, truly does need to have a therapist, and she needs to be talking it out, because I'm sure the place that she went to is like reputable and good and everything, but she's not, I think, again, because she does take things literal, I think she's just is going to take her more time to understand the lessons that they're trying to give her.
Yeah, and I actually would love for her to have a podcast with experts on, because I'd actually love to hear what they have to say to her.
Yeah, because I want to know, because again, I think she's interpreting
it in a different way,
and then like telling us about it.
And we're like,
a really bad game of telephone.
Yeah, it's a really bad game. It's really irresponsible game of telephone.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go as far as we can. I know you have to go at 3.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 3 minutes for us, by the way, guys. Okay. Then Bethenny asks if she's mad at the cast or if she thinks they're just doing their job. Rachel's like, okay, so the Vegas trip was traumatizing. Long pause. And then she goes, the following day, Lala and Christina Kelly came into my hotel room and they were like, that was amazing. Like, reality TV gold. You killed me. I can't believe you. You did it. You're the best. And then as soon as cameras were on, they were like, how could you? I cannot even imagine Lala and Christina Kelly going into her room being like, that was so good. You killed it. I have a feeling they walked in, maybe if anything happened, maybe to check on her to see if she was okay. And she was like, was I bad? And they were like, you were fine. You were fine.
Yeah.
But they weren't like, slay, girl, you did it.
I am finding it very, very difficult to believe. She's making it seem like it was like there's I mean, maybe they can't, I don't know, like the switch, like, and then we're on and we're off. Like, I don't know. I feel like that trip she was really, drunk, obviously. And again, I didn't care about that because it was, at least it was sold to her like some type of fun girls trip. And she was getting that like, drunk next day embarrassment, like what did I do? And they probably, like you said, were just like, girl, like it's gonna be good TV. Don't worry about it. Like, like to reassure her. Like I don't think that they were like, it seems more maniacal.
I can't hear it coming out of their mouths.
Yeah, no.
Lala, Christina Kelly? No,
yeah, especially Christina Kelly. I'm like, I don't think so.
She's so like monotone. She's not gonna be like, yes, slay, sister, you did it.
That doesn't even sound like her.
No. But Rachel's upset that they are using Graham to further the storyline that she is the worst villain. And I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if like that was the intention. Sometimes they do just capture shit on camera.
Yeah.
Like sometimes that's just what happens. Like there's so many things that have happened that they wish they probably didn't have on camera, but like that's just what happens,
Yeah. That's the point. That's supposed to be the point, But
yeah,
I'm still. I don't know. I kind of would love. That could be a podcast episode for her. I would love a whole podcast about the dog. Like, I would like her to really. I want to really talk about that dog.
She was not a good owner of a dog.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Ariana had kind of alluded to that. Like that.
The dog was a mess.
Graham was bad.
But Bethenny then asks what she regrets and if she would do anything differently. And this is where I was like, see, if you had kind of like led with this, it would have softened me a little bit, because she says that there were a lot of people that were believing in her, and I know that they were disappointed. And I do look back on my actions and I'm disappointed in myself. That's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. If you had led with that and not given me all of the like anger, bitter stuff, then I maybe would have heard it a little bit more. And this is where I feel like Bethenny did her a disservice.
Yeah. I mean, I think that she did her a disservice the whole freaking time. I can't even, like, again, you're, like you said, this did not need to be 3 parts. And she knew what she was doing. She was she really wants to get those views. She got what she wanted. She's number 1.
I know. So anyway, Pia, you got to go, right?
I do, but God, I love when we get to just like express our thoughts and figure out, like, 'cause sometimes like we don't really know what we feel.
Well, I still have more to go, so I'm gonna let you hop off and I'm gonna take over.
Okay,
bye, Pia.
Bye, guys. I'm sorry I can't say bye.
I know, bye. Oh, this is sad. I've never done this before.
I know, bye.
Bye. I've never stopped and just kept going without Pia, but she's got to go. So we're going to keep going. Bethenny then asks if she would ever go back, and Rachel says, hell no, because I refuse to not respect myself on that level where I would endure that emotional abuse any longer. Fair. I think that is the healthy thing. I feel like even Bethenny seemed like a little surprised by that. Bethenny was like, oh, really? Because I think Bethenny would. I think at this point, Bethenny would go back if they'd have her. Honestly. So then Rachel confirms that she was asked back, but with all the other people, who are more quote important, she doesn't think that she would get a redemption arc, which I thought it was interesting that she even said that term, she even said, I wouldn't get my redemption arc. It was just like a very, who gave her that lingo? Because you don't get a redemption arc, you have one. If that's, you know what I mean? They capture one. They capture a redemption arc. I know from a personal story, a friend of mine is a producer on a show on Bravo. Oh, not anymore, but she used to very recently, up to last year. She said that there was, I'm going to give away too much. She said there was a cast member on the show she was working on that needed a redemption arc. And she tried to bring her through it. She was like, I was telling her, here's the scene we should do because it will show you that you're working on yourself. But it just wasn't what this person wanted to do. And so they had yet another bad season. And they were like, even when you try, it's like, that's just the person. So if Rachel were to come back and be remorseful and care about these people, because if she did care about these people, she would understand why they were so hurt. If I did something like this and I lied to people for so long and I let them defend me, I would be a little more understanding about why they were mad at me and that it was going to take a minute. You burned a lot of bridges. And then she said that she'd asked for equal pay to Tom and Ariana and then to reimburse her for medical expenses. And can you imagine how pissed even Tom would be if Rachel was getting paid the same as him? If she got paid what they were getting paid, he'd say, I want more than that. Tom wouldn't allow that to happen, girl. Not even Tom, not even your man. Okay. And we already went over why they wouldn't reimburse her. But then Rachel goes, when you pay your employees, you feel like you value them. And the whole, whatever it is, I don't think that $350,000 isn't a lot of money. I do think that they could have figured out a way to maybe make sure that she was, I don't know, were they offering a mental health professional to be on set the whole time? Or was it just going to be we're throwing you to the wolves again? I'm so glad she's not back. It is great news that she's not back because she's just simply not able to do this. This reality TV show shit. It's shit. It's garbage. We know what we're watching. You can't take that away from us just because we like bad TV. You tried to make bad TV. You said that yourself, that you thought this Schwartz thing would be a good storyline. You said that yourself, and you were going to be the villain of the season. I mean, maybe not to some people because a lot of people still hated Katie. People were like, I don't fucking care. Do whatever you want to her. But still, for most people, it was like, damn, that's fucked up. And she admitted in the first part that she thought she was just doing what everyone else was doing to make good TV. Okay, moving on. Bethenny says that she understands wanting the validation from the network, come back, we love you or whatever, because Bethenny probably had the same thing. But she said that their MO is not to let the talent know how well things have been going, like the ratings. And Bethenny, of course, is like, and I demanded to see the ratings. I'm like, we need to know how we're doing. We need to know. But Rachel's like, you don't need to see the ratings to know. It's everywhere. Okay, so Bethenny, your little flex that you had to throw in there about how you were the one who said they should see ratings. Anyone can see fucking ratings, by the way. It's a report. It's a report that anyone has access to. So what are you talking about? And Rachel says she has a no contact policy or something with all the cast. And then Bethenny's like, well, has anyone reached out to you? And to say, maybe they went too far. They're sorry. And Lala has reached out saying that she was open to listen. I'm like, there you go. She has said out in public she feels bad for like she watched the reunion and she's like, I felt gross. Like I did not like how we handled it. I didn't like myself in it. And so just like you want like forgiveness for your actions, like I think that everyone in the height of their emotions maybe would like to apologize or something, you know? But anyway, okay, so Rachel contacted Lisa. And she said, because she had concerns about Graham being in James's care, but Lisa was just busy presenting scenes that she could film, you know, like one last interview. You could come to Villa Rosa. She didn't ask how she'd been since the reunion. Probably because Lisa's like, we're saving it for the show. Because Lisa is a producer at the end of the day, you know? So she's like, I don't want to say too much. I want to hear all about it fresh. But Rachel says she almost got her back because she did want to share her story and she had like a fire under her because she was mad about the Graham thing. And she thinks that they used Graham as bait. I don't think that's an incorrect thing for her to deduce, but I don't think it was intentional. I think that James was openly so sad about Graham and not having Graham in his life. So this isn't a huge reach for me that James would have been like, I'll do anything I can to get Graham. You know what I mean? Like that isn't a huge step for me to take because he was like most sad about Graham, not sad about Rachel, you know? So then she says, Tom, quote, emailed me twice. I'm like, Tom Sandoval emailed you twice? I'm assuming this was in reference to her coming back, like they wanted her to come back. But Bethany does harp on how strange it is that they're asking her back, knowing it was so hard for her. And that I agree with. Okay, fine, Bethany, you get one. It is so crazy that they know this woman was in a mental health facility for more than a month. And they were like, so you're going to come back? Or it's like, fuck you guys. No, check on her. That's all you should be doing. You doing okay? We're thinking about you. The offer is on the table if you want to come back, but whatever you want to do. I don't think it would have been good TV to have her back. I don't like to beat up on somebody who can't take it, you know? And I hope no one like sends these to her because I know that I hear you guys, the ones who like really feel compassion for Rachel and think it went too far. Like the social zeitgeist of all of this was too hard on her. I do understand that. I really, believe me, because I couldn't take it. That is why I can barely handle this, you know? So I'm not trying to sound like my point is the only correct point, or like Pia and I are the only ones, this is the right side to be on. It's just the side that I feel is more accurate to reality. She wanted us to talk about this interview because that's why she did a public interview with Bethenny, you know? And she didn't realize that Bethenny is not the ship to sail on into the next chapter of your life, because she's just about to make your life even harder. So then they get into what she's been up to and what's going to be coming up for her. And that's when she talked about the podcast focus on learning more about why these things happened. And it's exactly what I fucking said. It's like she could have positioned herself to come back and not have someone who was like, talk about baiting. Bethenny was baiting Andy hate out of her and like Bravo hate out of her. But I don't know if Rachel necessarily could, but Rachel does bring up certain points that are totally true. You absolutely should have someone who's going to be able to take care of them mentally and emotionally if something were to happen. But that's the unfortunate part. If you want to do reality TV, you know that there's that other side of it. So it's like that is where you like balance or you weigh the pros and cons. Like, do I want to do this? Because that means I'm going to get all this hate. And it doesn't mean you need to lie down and take it, but typically they cast people who are a little quirky, a little interesting, not perfect, shocker, you know? I don't know where I'm going with this. I hate that what's happened right now is that now we're divided again as a people. Now, as people, we are here divided, fighting over whether or not Rachel is right, Rachel is wrong, when it kind of what I wanted to happen for Rachel was to come back, do an interview, and say enough that made people go, you know what? she's gone through enough. The dust has settled. We don't need to fight this fight for Ariana. It's not like she needs us to do this for her. We can let her be. We don't need to keep. But instead, Bethenny used her own agenda to pipe in parts of this story that kind of she's reaching. And even Rachel's like, what? No, that wasn't the thing. And then Bethenny's got to praise herself. She's like, I flew to Arizona because I wanted to have compassion. I know you weren't comfortable traveling. I'm like, that's not that unheard of. Oprah's done it many times. Okay? You want the interview, you show up and you go there. If anything, it seems more invasive. If anything, you're like, I'm not. She's like, I was worried you'd back out. She says that. I'm like, so you trapped her. Don't try to hide. Don't try to disguise it like you're some good person. Oh, my lips are so chapped. And then Bethenny asks if Rachel has anything left to say. Did we cover everything? And that's when Rachel's like, I'm going to, maybe if I have anything, I'll save it for the podcast. I don't know, this is very complicated. I will be listening to her podcast if she starts it and has experts on, because I am curious as to what I like psychological explorations. I love that. I love getting into that shit. I watch them on serial killers all the time, which is a problem, but I do. So I'm open to it. If Tom is going to be able to exist and function and be fine with being the villain right next to all the people that find him to be a villain, then you should be like, I'm interested to hear your side of the story too, Rachel. If I were to go back and rewatch last season, though, I think my dislike of her would come back, because the way she handled the Katie thing was so heartless. That really, really affected me. I felt so bad for Katie. And then it was sad because people hate Katie so much from what she does in the past that they were like, fuck Katie, she deserves it. And I feel like those must be the same people that are maybe saying that Rachel should be forgiven, which I find very ironic, because it's like, well, when it was happening to Katie, you couldn't have given a shit. But when it's happening to Rachel, you feel the need to like kind of protect her. But like those people hated Katie, So it's just the fan base is very tumultuous again. And I hate that. I think again, I'm going to blame production and the network for handling filming the way they have. I think it would have just been a whole lot better to let them not film together so that we could, as an audience, not have to be bombarded with these clips and things that are igniting anger. The comments on someone, I can't remember where the post, who's the post was, but it was the clip of them all going into SUR and Ariana's right in front of Tom. And again, how do you stand next to Tom? But then it made me think of something. When housewives go on these trips, cast trips, they get in these huge fights. There's always a point where they just have to coexist and sometimes even sit next to the person they hate at a dinner. So just the simple nature of forcing people to hang out together that don't normally hang out together, that is filming, it can appear, if you don't know what's going on, like, oh my God, they're all friends again. And I admit that I kind of fell into that for a second too. But I do wish Rachel the best. I fucking hate Tom. Okay? I said it. I hate him. I think he's the super villain in all of this in every way. And I hate that Rachel just wasn't built for it. And as Pia said yesterday, she tried to play this different game and be this person that she's not. And now she's getting that response from those actions. But she's like, I'm actually not that girl. It's like, well, unfortunately, you acted like it. So, at least from my perspective, I really do. I want to start getting in the habit of reminding anyone listening that, like, I don't disrespect if you have an opinion that's different than mine. I know what it feels like because that's how I get to feel like this is right. I am correct. But if someone else has an opinion that's different than mine and I don't agree, like online, I just keep scrolling. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm like, really? You think that? And then I'm like, ew. But that's why these shows are so crazy. The cast is meant to have some flavors for everyone. And you're going to connect to different people, and we're all different people. So I may sound like I know it all because I've heard that note about me. I don't want to sound like that. So I'll work on it. I don't want to sound preachy. I don't want to sound like all the things I hate. But yeah, I don't want us to kick off and start hating each other again. The real enemy is Tom. Let's all unite on that. Tom is the problem. I want the best for Rachel, though. I do. I feel like she needs peace. She needs peace, and she needs to get away from her parents. For real. Her parents are a problem. And that's all I have to say. Tell me how you guys feel. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys so much for your love and support as of late. Really appreciate you. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening there as well. Don't forget to rate and review the pod. That really helps. If you're listening on Spotify, just rate it. That would help too. And I love you guys. I mean it. And I will see you soon. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, would you mind leaving me a 5-star rating and review on whatever platform you are listening? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget there's the super thanks option down at the bottom, the little button with the $ and the heart. And also I'm on buymeacoffee.com/SheSpeaksBravo if you want to buy me a little coffee or 2 or 5. And my Patreon, that is where I'm covering all of the classic Bravo jams. If you want to follow me over there and subscribe, link is in the description. And follow me on Instagram and TikTok at She Speaks Bravo. And whoever the guest was for today, all their information is always in the episode description. So if you want to follow them and check them out, check there for the info. And any of the sponsor codes that I mentioned in this episode will also be in the description. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I'll see you next time. Bye.